From the Grand Ballroom at Executive Caterers at Landerhaven, thank you for joining us as we celebrate more than 20 years of presenting important and timely discussions. Corporate Club is the direct link for community leaders to connect with regional businesses, government, and nonprofit organizations. This series of programs deals with those issues and persons that impact on the lives of those who live in Northeastern Ohio. Corporate Club at Landerhaven begins right now.
Good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to our first Corporate Club of the season. We're happy to have you all here with us. We look forward to another exciting season of Corporate Club. Before we start, I'd like to thank our sponsors, without whom this would not be possible. We'd like to welcome on board two new sponsors for this year, Dollar Bank. Thank you very much for your support. And Lasting Impressions Direct. Welcome aboard. Thank you. We'd also like to welcome our returning sponsors of Inside Business, the Greater Cleveland Partnership, WCPN 90.3 Idea Stream, and the Northern Ohio Area Chambers of Commerce. We appreciate your support. Thank you. We also thank our returning table sponsors, as well as two new table sponsors, the Myers Roman and Siebert Keck. Thanks for coming on board. Yeah. Those of you who attend Corporate Club regularly will know that partial proceeds from the program go to a wonderful organization, Junior Achievement, that do great work in the schools, teaching kids about entrepreneurship and business. And today we have a number of schools represented. We have the Cleveland Heights High, Cleveland School of Architecture and Design, Collinwood Recreation Center, Glenville High School, John Marshall High School, Martin Luther King Junior High, Mayfield High School, Shaw High School, and the Max Hayes High School. If you'd like to stand and be recognized, thanks for joining us today. Thank you. We'd also like to recognize three people in the audience today. We've got Mayor Susan Drucker from the Mayor of Solon. We have State Representative Marlene Anielski and her daughter Victoria. And we have Sister Diane Stainer, the President of Ursuline College. Thank you for being with us. As we look to the Corporate Club season, the next program we have is on Thursday, June the 5th, and it's called Driving Innovation. It's a look at the auto industry and all the changes that are taking place. The panel, we have Bernie Marino from the Collection Auto Group, we have Tom Ganley from the Ganley Auto Group, and Jim Brown from the Classic Auto Group. So these are three companies that pretty much dominate the market in this part of the country. And if anyone knows what's happening in the auto industry, they do. And ladies, I know it's just a bunch of guys, but I'm sure they'll have something interesting to say, so I hope you'll join us. I'd like to bring up Christine Krause, our Director of Marketing, who has a few announcements.
Hey, where's the applause? Okay. Thank you. I just want to talk about the value of sponsorship. It's really important to us all. It makes a difference. We have been doing this for 25 years, as you well know. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay. We use Corporate Club as a tool to reach out to our community. As you can see next to you, your peers, there are people here who have worked very, very hard at their jobs, and this is how we create a great Cleveland. We love our city. Sponsorship is an opportunity to reach your audience and absolutely do something that makes a difference. Again, we've been doing this for 25 years. It really does work. I want to welcome Dollar Bank on board because they are our new sponsor for this year. In addition, I want to make a couple of announcements. Harlan Diamond created this venue for brides, as you well know. We have Cocktails and Veils coming up here July the 16th. It's a Wednesday night from 4 to 9, which is why it's Cocktails and Veils. We partner with Today's Bride on that event. In the audience today, we have Lucio Vanni Couture. They will be part of that. Vanni has actually worked with Chanel So please, take a chance and talk with her. She will tell you all about it. Also in our audience, we have Michael Krasinski from the Cleveland Youth Ballet. So he is here. He is our chairman of the board. They performed on Friday, so if anybody wants to get involved in that, you should see him and talk with him. Now I just want to introduce Dollar Bank. If I think of a Dollar Bank, I think of two words, integrity and community. They know what the community needs. They have built their business for over 159 years. Think of that. From Western PA to Northeast Ohio, they partner with people, with businesses, with churches, and now they're partnering with Corporate Club. I would like to bring to stage Brian Tucker, the new addition, and the Vice President, Director of Corporate Affairs, to talk about what's going on with Dollar Bank. It'll be good stuff, I'm sure.
Thanks, Christine.
Thanks, Christine. First, the commercial. A lot of you know the name Dollar Bank, but you may not know that we are a mutual bank, which makes us quite a bit different. We are not owned by stockholders, so we really do our business for you, the customer, with you in mind, with a long-lasting relationship. Our lenders aren't commissioned. They're not trying to sell you stuff you don't need. They're trying to help you buy a house, build a business, some of the traditional roles that a bank ought to play in building a community. Enough of the commercial. And you'll pardon my notes, but I wanted to be thoughtful about this when Lisa King asked me to take advantage of this opportunity. And tell you first that we're proud to be the sponsor of this year's Corporate Club. I know of it. Harlan did a great job in creating this, and obviously it's been a great success. Many of you probably recognize or even know me from my former life as publisher of Crane's Cleveland Business. During my time at Crane's, we created a special section called Women of Note, which to this day remains one of Crane's most popular special sections. But my favorite part of that endeavor was our luncheon event honoring these special women. It was then that we heard in the honorees' own words the stories of overcoming adversity and long odds on their path to business excellence. So at Dollar Bank, we're pleased to take advantage of opportunities to sponsor special themed events like today's luncheon. We believe it's important to continue shining a light on the achievements of women so that young girls everywhere aspire to follow in the footsteps of today's speakers. While our nation continues to improve, I think we can agree that there are still far too many obstacles thrown in the path of our citizens, obstacles built on the hateful foundation of gender, race, or economic bigotry. So for now, we must continue to bring together people to celebrate the achievements of women like those that you'll hear from today. It inspires us all to be better and reminds us how important it is to have lofty aspirations. As a proud father of 2 daughters, I'm confident they'll face less of the superficial bias that our speakers probably had to overcome early in their careers. And if we're lucky, if we're really lucky, maybe their daughters won't face obstacles at all, and the glass ceiling will be left where it belongs as nothing more than a historical anomaly, a wrong that belongs in the waste bin with so many other prejudice and biases that have afflicted our society. Again, Dollar Bank and our team here is proud to have had the opportunity to support today's event. And now with you, we're anxious to hear from and be inspired by such a great group of speakers. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, folks, the program will start shortly, so if you're going to go ahead and enjoy your meal, and we'll be back on stage in a few minutes.
Caterers Corporate Club Women of Excellence.
I'm Jan Jones, your moderator for the event, and seated on the stage with me are 4 Emmy Award-winning newscasters. You trust them. You respect them. Maybe you even envy them a little. But I promise you, by the time our program is over, you're going to know them a whole lot better. So we have from News Channel 5, Danita Harris, from WKYC TV3, Kris Pickel, Romona, and from Fox 8 News, Stefani, Schaefer. I was nervous about doing this. This is a party. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. All righty. I needed to be nervous. Thank you for joining us today. We've got to begin. We're going to begin strong, hitting hard here. It is May, the lovely month of May, and that means ratings. That's a powerful time in this business. So, Danita.
Yes, Danita, take that one, please.
Yeah, Romona thought I was going to ask her. Danita.
I was waiting for you to say Romona.
Does it put why are these next few weeks so important to the business, and does it put a different kind of pressure on you?
It's different to the business because it is our May sweeps period, and that's when you're going to see a lot of special reports. Even with the networks, you'll see a lot of your finales because it's a high ratings period. And so we are in this race to be #1. Everyone wants to be #1. And based upon the numbers, that's how our sales department can determine how much they can sell time on our air. So you want to be #1, you get more money, right? As far as pressure in the newsroom, I try not to put too much pressure on myself. There is a different level of intensity in the newsroom because, like I said, this is competitive. You know, everyone wants to put their best foot forward, but I try to do the best job I can do every day. So in my mind, I make every day like it's a sweeps period, and that way I don't go crazy.
You go crazy every day.
Every day.
Every day. And I want to echo her sentiment. So true. Every day is a ratings day at 19 Action News. And I wanted to make sure I got that in because my boss is sitting out there. So I give it 110% every day.
Right.
But you will see special attention to special reports during the sweeps period. But quite honestly, the business is changing so much. You know, they used to sell just on the 3 major ratings periods, February, May, and November, and now I think they sell in 3-month increments. So you really have to go to work and give it your all every single day to try and keep those viewers.
You used the word change, and indeed, technology has certainly changed the business as well. We can hardly keep up with it. It's running away from us. So, Kris, how does technology play into your role as a newscaster, and have you seen the change and adapted to it?
It has changed so much. I've been in the business more than 20 years, and when I started, we didn't have computers, so it was typewriters, and you were running your teleprompter with a foot pedal. And then computers came in, which made everything so much easier. Instead of having to call every person to verify every fact, you could just go online now, and that made our lives so much easier. But now we're going into this time of social media, and we're having to realize that everything is changing about the way people get news. Everything is so instant now. People don't have to tune in at 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11. They can go online now and just get information instantly. And in some ways, the news has now started to become second place to what people can access online. And as much as we try to fight technology, I'm not a big fan, I wasn't a big fan of Twitter until recently I had that aha moment. It was the Kent State lockdown, and you realize there were students that were trapped inside of classrooms and they didn't have access to television. They didn't have access to any other kind of medium except what was going on their phones. So we started tweeting pretty much specifically to the students. You are in lockdown. The gunman has not been arrested. Stay in your classrooms. Police will be coming through. And you realize that technology can be very challenging, but you have to embrace the positive sides of it. And now we do try and do things that you can't get just online. We try to personalize things, and we use it for promotion too, saying, hey, tune in at 6, we have this. And it's something individual that has been enterprised by the station.
And it brings a change to what we have to do as anchors, because now it's not only relevant that you have a brand on television, But now it is relevant that we also brand ourselves on Twitter, on Facebook. We have to have a social media brand. Before that wasn't as important, but now if you want to be successful, people want to know, well, how many Facebook friends do you have? How many followers do you have? We have to prove our credibility to an entirely different audience now that wants information from us.
So you're doing it at all different levels. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, you only have 24 hours in a day.
Right.
So this means that your brain and your fingers are working at different levels all the time.
And as much as we love social media, the lines really have been blurred when it comes to real journalism, because I can't tell you the number of people, especially young people, who will walk up to me and say, oh, did you cover the story on this person did this? And I'd say, no, where did you hear that? Is that a local story we should be covering? Oh, I read it on someone's blog, or I read it on this website. So sometimes there's that challenge there, and while we use this tool, and it's a great one, I'm probably one of the oddball people who actually loves Facebook. I mean, I have 3 Facebook pages, Twitter, Instagram, and I'm always tweeting and Facebooking and sharing things. But there is such a value to it, but yet there's also that problem of people can write anything, and some people will take it as fact.
Because they see it right there.
Exactly.
And then there's also the pressure and the rush to get it first, so people feel that I'm going to get it out there first, but we make sure that it's got to be accurate and it's got to be right, and not necessarily first. We want to make sure we don't go out there with misinformation.
Stephanie, let me ask you this. I mean, we're talking about this social media and how connected you have to be. So must you be connected 24/7? How do you protect your own privacy and your own safety?
We've all talked about this at great length this afternoon, and have a lot of similar stories that we've all experienced. And I know my bosses are so great and they encourage it, but they don't put pressure on us to do it. And even I'll talk to Sonia and say, well, you know, during commercial break, I'm posting pictures and doing this from behind the scenes, and I love to do that. And she goes, you don't have to do that. And I know I don't have to, but I enjoy it. I know our viewers love it. But then also, too, I get to the point when I leave, then I'm mom, and I'm running to the grocery store and running and picking up the kids and running them to their activities. And last week when I was on vacation, we were out of town, and it was just us, and I didn't feel any pressure at all to tweet or Instagram or doing that. Now, when I do post, I just posted pictures of some of our vacation pictures on Instagram and Twitter. But I waited till we were home, because that's a big responsibility that we all have. We have families, we have security. That's a absolute number one priority for me. Right. I know it is for the station. They're very much protective over our personal lives. So you do have to draw the line at some point. And then you have viewers who say, I want to know these things. And I know they want to know, but you also have to be careful too, because most of us have children, and we have to protect them and their security first and foremost.
And I will say, being married, my husband first did not understand why, you know, I work nights, so I get home, I'm up at 1 a.m., and I may be on Facebook. I may be checking out my Facebook page. He's like, why are you always attached to that phone and that iPad, and you're always posting and tweeting? What is going on? And I had to explain to him, because the industry has changed, and my role has changed. And in order to be successful, I must be engaged. I just happen to love Facebook, you know, but you know, it really does change, and I think our families have to understand that we may be on the phone. I know Romona shares, she gets up Saturday mornings and that page.
I'm at the grocery store answering Facebook posts. I mean, I love it. For me, my Facebook friends really are an extension of my family. I know I hear these horror stories of people posting these awful things, but I really feel like they're an extension of the family. They help me get dressed during the Emmy Awards when I'm about to attend. I'll post, you know, I'm wearing this dress. What do you think about these shoes or this bag? And I'm surprised I'll get more men who are picking out the shoes.
There's the real answer. There's the real answer.
It's a wonderful tool, and because they like you and respect you on the serious side, you get post after post or tips from them. They will send you messages on Twitter. They will send you tips on stories, some pretty good stories that we've ended up doing. So social media is here to stay.
And a very nice.
Is your husband and are your boys very patient of this?
They are. It's one of those things that you can get a little too involved in. You start feeling like, oh, I need to put this out there. I need to
So
check
how do you
and
step
know.
away?
It's difficult sometimes. It's very difficult, especially there are a lot of positives with it. It does connect us to the viewers in a way that's never really been done before. People who would not approach you out in public can ask you questions, and in some ways that's very nice. Sometimes we talked earlier that some of the questions you're like, I'm not answering.
They want to know everything, right?
But you just, at some point you have to strike a balance. We have so many things to balance in our lives, the kids and families, and you have to relax. So you just at some point have to put everything down and go, I'm going to step away for a few minutes. But it's fun to come back. We like it.
Yeah. And that helps. A question that I had too, because I know when we turn on the news and we see these women behind their desks and they're poised, they're dressed beautifully, they're bantering with their co-hosts.
Why, thank you.
Figure in an hour, bam, you're gone to go and live their charmed lives.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, did you see me cleaning up my puppy's mess today? Because that was not a charmed life.
There's much more to it. And because you're talking about being involved, let me ask about community involvement. You're an advocacy or a mission that you personally may have that really speaks to you in the community.
What I think our greatest platform is that we have the opportunity to reach out to so many people. And our station, we just raised in an hour and 45 minutes more than $1 million for St. Jude. And I know we all do all these great community events. And so to have that power and to have that opportunity to be able to help so many people. And I remember one of the first stories that I did when I started reporting 20 years ago was a child needed a bone marrow transplant. And we did the story, and because of that story, we got the match. And I remember thinking, wow, what a job. What an extraordinary opportunity for us to be able to do that and help save somebody's life. It's a great responsibility, but it's such a gift too. It's a gift, the power of something.
I really think it is something that we should be committed to when you're in this position, that you should want to be committed to community service. It's not something that I check off every 3 months where I've been, but it really is a part of who I am. I'm big on women's issues, transitional housing, rape crisis center. I've been on the boards of these organizations. I volunteer my Saturdays and Sundays. And sometimes you'll get coworkers like, why do you do so much on the weekends? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Well, it's not because I'm checking off a list. It's because of who I am, and it's my own personal commitment to community is to give back. And I live by something: to whom much is given, much is required. And I believe I've been given so much. We've been given this platform, this powerful platform to connect to people. And it's almost like it is required. It is my honor, really, to go out and give back to the community and connect with the people who watch.
Well, I think mostly everyone is probably familiar with my work in the community. I do a segment called Ramona's Kids. And I started that segment when I came to Cleveland in 1990, because one of the things I saw in watching television news, there were so many negative stories about our kids. Yet when I would go all over this region speaking to children, I saw so many positive kids trying to do the right thing, trying to go to school, trying to get good grades, despite some of their economic environment. I mean, and for me, I had a child tell me this once, and it's interesting because he said to me, we don't like when suburban people come into our schools and tell us, do this, do this, do that, and then they go away and we never see them again. And I just had a woman who said to me, you know, Ramona, I love your Ramona's Kids segments, but I'm a little concerned about some of the areas you're going into. I hope you're going to be safe. And I was so offended by that, because how do I know what the plight of these children is unless I go and see what they have to endure every single day? And so that's been my mission. I know that's my mission in life, to get out there, try to inspire and encourage these young people that they can do it. My mom was a single mom who raised all of us. All I had was a dream of becoming a news broadcaster like Walter Cronkite. But the one way my mom told me I could get there was through education. We had no money, but we had a free public education. And so I dove into my books. I went to college, and that's how I did it, and that's what I'm telling these kids. It's basic, but stay in school, get good grades, and if you want to go to college, gosh darn it, I know Northeast Ohio is so generous, we will make sure somehow you get to college.
Our graduation rate's up, it's probably because of you. You're inspiring.
Take responsibility.
Yeah.
Take responsibility for yourself. Kris.
I would say by virtue of what we do, we ask people to allow us into their living rooms every night or every day. And you share your day with us and your community with us. And by virtue of that, we need to give back. We need to be out in the community. That is a huge part of our job.
You know, we've been talking about local news. Anything missing from local news?
I think we can be even more local, if that makes any sense. You know, I think sometimes, especially now, we're getting more into what's happening internationally and things of that nature. And because of social media and because people can get news online at any point in time, what I want from my local news is just, tell me a little bit, but I want more local. The more local, the better. I don't think you can do enough. The stories that still need to be told. We're not telling all the stories that need to be told. As a matter of fact, sometimes I think, and we get this all the time, you guys do too many negative stories. It's always crime and murder. Why don't you do more positive stories, more enterprising stories?
And why don't you?
We do.
We do.
There is. They don't remember those.
Yeah,
but
they do. There's a
They
perception.
They say they want them, and they don't remember them.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, if I may just move right into this, what did it feel like covering a local story that garnered world attention
I think
when
that-
3 women were held prisoners for 10 years in a house in Cleveland?
It had touched, and I'm probably speaking for you guys too. We had interviewed those families over the years and felt for them and hoped for them and prayed for them for so many years that to see that happen was just unbelievable.
Well,
it was
I'll
the
just-
greatest thing. It was the greatest story, and then
Yeah.
be part of it was
And to be able to, I remember the day that this happened, as I'm sure all of you do.
Yeah.
I remember us being on the air, Denise DeFalla and I, and our news director coming out saying, I believe it was right before sports, we were in commercial break, and he said, we're going to come out, we've got breaking news, Amanda Berry has been found in a home in Cleveland. And Denise and I were like, really? And so we were looking at it, he said, yes, you know, Ed Gallick has gotten the tip, and so has Paul Orlowski, 2 reporters at our station. And I'm new to the station, so this is huge news. And I'm looking at Denise, because I'm new, like, okay, are we gonna go with this? You know, we're first on this, no one else is reporting this. If we get this wrong, because sometimes there's such a challenge trying to be first, and I was like, okay, I want to be right. We should always want to be right. And Denise looked at me and said, Ramona, if Ed and Paul says it's true, it's true. And I was like, okay, all right. So then Ed comes up on the set and he says, not only has Amanda Berry been found, Gina De Jesus is with her. And Denise looked at Ed and goes, are you sure about this? Because I'm like, oh my God, what are the chances? This is an incredible story. But thank goodness the end of that story came. It was one of the most powerful stories I've ever covered.
And you know what? And being a news anchor, I can tell you, I was off that day. So I was off that day,
Worst.
headed to my birthday dinner. People were waiting for me at a restaurant. I get the phone call. You've got to come in. And that's another thing in our jobs you don't know. It's like news is 24/7 and our lives. So I literally couldn't go, left my house and went straight to the news station and said, friends, you'll have this later. It's the biggest story ever. I have to go in. And that is something that, you know, vacation time or breaking news can happen. And one thing about our jobs, you can go in at one time. You don't know when you're going home. You don't know. Anything could happen. You could be there all night long.
Celebrate that birthday tomorrow.
Yeah, celebrate later. You know, we got big news here. And so that's another thing that comes with what we do.
But we're also so fortunate to get to be a part of those events because you're presenting them. These are the most important times in a community and people's lives. And we're fortunate to be a part of that. And with such
Kris,
a
I
big...
have to ask you this, because I know this was something that we talked about. Did you know what you were getting into when you started in this business? Did you realize?
the weather.
I like snow. I'm not allowed to say that. Actually, I didn't.
I mean, into your career, did you realize when you jumped into this career what it would entail?
No, and especially, it's one thing that I actually talk to students about when I'm talking to them, not just about going into news, but any career, the amount of time it will take, that you need to set your priorities with the career you're going to pick. I had no idea of the schedule. The best schedules in news are the worst schedules for families.
Yes.
So I'm gone at night when my children are with my husband, I still would not change this job, even though my priorities have changed over the years to be my family. We've had to make adjustments. But even when you're talking to kids about, oh, you want to be a chef, remember, chefs work at night preparing other people's dinners. It's one of those things which, with every career, there are sacrifices that you make, and you have to weigh, is the sacrifice going to be worth it? I did not know the schedule before, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. But one thing I want to say about having such a huge story, the Miracle in Cleveland, it was interesting coming in, and I had been here for a little while, but you challenge your entire crew during stories like that. And one thing, Cleveland has a reputation nationally, and it was trying to remind people that bad events can happen in any community, and no community is defined by one event. That was an individual. It was not Cleveland that did that. And even though it put us in the national spotlight, it came down to reassuring people here too of the strength of this community and also the safety of it.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. The four of you have reached a certain pinnacle in your careers. You are recognized by your peers as award-winning journalists. You really are the captains of your ships. So have you ever, or do you, experience gender bias?
We're pointing to one another.
Okay, we were talking about
That was
we
just had a good conversation.
Yeah, we were upstairs talking. We had a lot of fun talking about things. Times have changed quite a bit, and gender bias isn't something, news has been very male-dominated over the last few decades, and it's fine. You work in with that. It's a great camaraderie with men. Recently, though, I did set up a story. I spent about a month. I wanted to go out on an icebreaker, and the ice got so bad that when I got permission to go, they called back, the military called back, the Coast Guard, and said, well, you guys can do the story, but you can't go because you're a woman. And they didn't say it exactly like that, but that's what I took out of it. I'm like, wait a second, you're telling me I can't do something because I'm a woman? They're like, well, you will be out on a ship overnight with an all-male crew. I'm like, I'm fine with that. They're like, we have no place for you to sleep. I'm like, the floor? I'm good with the floor. And we hung up. And I'm like, I was just told I couldn't do something. I don't like that. So I called them back, and we had a very nice conversation about gender bias in the military, and that I had read all of their maritime strategy, and education was a very important part to them, and that's what the goal of this story would be. And there was no confrontation, but when you start talking about archaic military strategies and gender bias, they're like, let us call you back. And so they called back and went, okay, you can go on the icebreaker, you're gonna have to sleep in the galley. I'm like, fine, whatever. But there are still some obstacles that as women we face.
And I started in the business in the mid-'80s, and that's when women were first starting to appear as anchors. And I remember one of my first jobs sitting next to a male anchor who had been solo anchor for years, and he did not take that very well. And so every time we went on the air, you know, let's pretend as if Sissy is me. I'd, read, look over at him, and while I'm looking over at him, his shoulder and his back was away from me, and this is how he delivered the news. And I would do what Sissy's doing, looking around him, like, I'm over here!
Together on the same camera.
So it's amazing today that women are well perceived in the business, and we have really evolved, because when I started in the business, they basically wanted you to look pretty, have on nice clothes, have nice hair, and it's so different now.
But I would like to see more women in management. And, I would like to see more women in news management positions, more women as general managers of stations. We do have some women news directors, but I just think in the news management side, it still is pretty much male dominated. And I think that we are still evolving, and we still need to grow in that area. It's almost like sometimes, okay, it's okay, you're on the anchor desk, you can report, but when it comes to making the heavy duty decisions about the content and the control and the direction, I think think that's where women, we need to grow even more.
And it is happening.
And
Yeah.
it is.
Channel 3, we just had Mickey Burns promoted to general manager. Hi, Mickey.
It's tough for women.
It's
because
time. It's
a
time.
guy can have success and be a strong leader, and he's looked upon with great respect, and wow, he's a strong leader. But sometimes if a woman would carry herself in the same way,
Yeah.
she's yes.
She's a witch.
Yes,
That's a good way to say it, the witch.
Unfortunately,
That's a better word for it.
So it's tough because then you have to. Women have to feel that they have to be more delicate about
Right.
it.
But I think we see that problem all over the nation, not
In
just
every
in
business.
television.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely,
we need
yes.
equal pay as well.
That's true.
Let me ask though, I mean, is appearance still an issue? And is it important?
I think appearance is always an
Yeah,
issue.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All over
You
the
want to
nation.
you
All
want
over
to
every-
not distract. You want people to listen to your content. Your goal most of the time is to not be a distraction on air. You want people to listen to what you're saying. If you notice, we're all in solids. Patterns are very distracting when you're on the air. There's a lot of basic things, and you just. And also, there's a concern for us. We will age out of the business, and
We will.
we'll go down kicking and fighting with injections.
Soon, Chris.
My mom is 80 and she still looks good.
Good
Yay
news.
for the 80s.
Yeah, you have to look good. You have to keep yourself up, you know. And you know, and this, I will say, viewers will let you know. If you gain some weight, they'll email you, they'll inbox you, they'll leave you voicemails, you know. You have to have tough skin. You really have to have tough skin because, you know, TV is a visual medium. We are the targets. We are the faces of this station. So you will develop a thick skin because just like people love you, people say, oh, I didn't like that jacket. I didn't like that.
And then sometimes, you know, all television stations have consultants, wardrobe, makeup consultants that come in. And sometimes I feel like they do more harm than good, or they can do more harm than good. I remember as a young anchor starting out, they had a consultant come in, and because I was anchoring in the heartland, they said, oh, you dress like you're in New York or Chicago, and we need to bring your wardrobe down a little bit. And so they had me in these very conservative clothing, and the worst part was she said my eyes were too big, so she put light-colored gray on the lid and then darkened the creases, and then I would go on the air and I would basically read like this, police said that the man... And so my news director called me in, he goes, what is wrong with you? Where is the woman I hired? What's going on? And I said, I don't think I look good. He says, well, why are you wearing it? I said, because you hired this person to tell me to do this. So we've learned, you take their advice with a grain of salt.
When you look good, you perform well. When you feel like you look good, you perform well. You feel it. So
Trust yourself.
Trust yourself.
Just don't go on the air in your sweats.
I know.
The nice thing about
Christy Capel's here, and we, you know what, we are so blessed because our bosses, they let us, they have confidence in us and our decisions, and they've been so good with just saying, you guys be yourself, and we're not going to tell you how to hold a pen or how to look at your co-anchor or how you should have your hands. They just say, you guys be yourself. And I love that, and I'm so grateful to that table back there because they have just allowed us to all be ourselves.
What I love about what she has said about being yourself, and they talked about social media, they talked about being involved in community, so that you, the audience, really do see these women as themselves, as well as newscasters. And Stefani, I'm changing pace here a little bit. You in particular, we've talked about our families and how important our families are to us, and you in particular have been very open with your viewers regarding a tragedy that your family has experienced. 2 years ago, your husband Roger fell from a roof, sustained extensive brain damage. You have 2 beautiful children. Where are you now as a family, and what choices are you facing?
Wow. Yeah, our world came crashing down more than 2 years ago. My husband and I, and you all know Roger very well, and you know, was the love of my life. And we had never had a fight. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but it was true. We both respected each other. We trusted each other. We loved to be together. We were always together with our kids, the 4 of us. And someone recently said to me, you know, I think the reason why you and Roger never had an argument was because maybe God knew that you had limited time together. And I wonder that too. And so through those first few months when he was in a coma, I would tell the kids and myself that we were going to fix things and that we were going to make it better with God's healing hands. And I think definitely the miracle happened because he's alive. And the doctors would tell me there's just no way he's going to survive this, and that it was a matter of time. And so here we are, a little more than 2 years, and he does not know who we are. My children and I were just with him yesterday, and it's really, it's so tough to be there, and especially to see the kids. My son now, Race, is 13, and our daughter, Sienna, is 12. And they're at such a critical age right now where in a perfect situation, things can go wrong with kids, with sex and drugs and all sorts of influences, and especially with social media. And so now my focus has shifted so much on saying, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to fix this. Now I've realized I can't, and I have to accept it now. But now my kids have always been my life, but now I am making sure that they're strong individuals, they're full of faith, and you know, they amaze me. We were just all three of us together for their spring break last week, and Andy Fishman and I were talking about it because he said, you were just with 2 teenagers and you couldn't get enough of them, and on Sunday they were crying, they didn't want to go back to school, I didn't want to go back to work, we loved being together, and I'm so blessed that we have that core and that they talk to me about everything. And yesterday we got in the car after we said goodbye and hugged and kissed Roger, I said, how are we? And before I started the car, just to let them talk. And you know, it's a tough time. And I said about a little over a year ago was that maybe 6 months was so into me being at the hospital and then starting back to work, and what a support I've had at Channel 8. You guys have been unbelievable, unbelievable, and have helped carry me through, every one of you guys. But I remember it all really came to an awakening for me when my son, he had a basketball scrimmage, and he got in the car, and my daughter was in the back seat, and he was in the front seat next to me. And I started the car and started pulling out of the parking lot, and he just said, he goes, Mom, I hate myself and I hate my life and I want to die. And he said, dear God, why don't you let me die? Because my life is so bad. And Sienna started crying, and I put the car in park and I jumped on his lap, and Sienna jumped over, and we were all three holding each other. And for her to see her brother like that, and then me to see him like that, and I think that's when I thought, you know, I have to focus on these kids, and I have to make sure that. And I go, guys, we can destroy ourselves right now. We can let this destroy us because it's destroyed us. And I said, you don't think there's times that I don't want to live? I mean, there were months that I didn't want to live.
You have to choose life for you.
But that's what I said, we can let it destroy us, or we let it define us. And I want you guys to be teenagers and then adults and then loving parents one day. And this is going to change your lives. This is all, I don't know why we've been given this. I don't know why, but we've got to be strong. And I look at these 2 kids every day, and I just thank God every day because they are strong, and they'll come up to me and hug me for no reason, and they're good kids, and I thank God for that.
And you are strong.
You're
and
sweet.
you
Thank
are
you.
strong.
Yeah.
You are strong.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know if you know this, but Danita is a minister as well.
Yes, she is. I made her say our prayer today. I said, let's join hands. And Danita, I'm deferring this to you.
Of course, my question is, how much does faith play in your lives? Stephanie, so beautifully spoken. Danita?
I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for God, if it wasn't for my faith in God. It is my faith in God that keeps me going every day. It's my faith in God that helps me press through those hard times because I believe that this is where He has planted me. This is what He always saw for me to do. So He will equip me with the tools that I need to carry out my purpose. And I believe that television is my profession. It is my passion, but my purpose is really to encourage people and to give them hope that they can have an abundant life, that they can have a joyous life. And so I try to bring that light. It's interesting because a lot of viewers, they'll tell me, oh, it's your smile. You know, when I watch you do the news, there's something about your smile. Or, oh, I knew you were because I saw that light in you. Or, you know, and I'm blessed to work with like Kris Flanagan, my co-anchor is here, you know. We don't have to talk about faith all the time to know that you're attached and sit next to people who have a strong faith. And Mark Johnson has faith. So it's a blessing to work in an environment with people that I sit knee to knee with for hours, knowing that we have that common thread. It's powerful.
And it is definitely faith that got me to where I am today. I remember being a 6-year-old child sitting next to my mom watching the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite every evening. And at 6 years old, I declared to her, "Mom, I'm going to college. I'm going to be just like Walter Cronkite." And it was that day that my mom started to encourage me to get good grades. And I would pray and ask the Lord to please help me get there. I didn't know how my mom would pay for college. My mom raised 11 children on her own. 11 children. I would hear my mom crying at night, just saying the words, "Lord, Lord, Lord, help me." As a 6-year-old, I had no idea what that meant. She would just cry out in the night. Well, now I know what they mean by crying out in the midnight hour to the Lord. And when it was time for me to go to college, there was no money left. There were already 4 siblings in school, and there was no more loan that my mom could take out. And so there was a person there that helped me be able to continue to fulfill my dream. So I know today that the Lord is the reason I'm in the job that I'm in, and He wants me to be a voice for people who don't have one, and that's why I do what I do.
And Kris?
I have a completely different answer in that there are so many religions out there that my faith and my spirituality is something that I'm very comfortable keeping private and not bringing into a part of my career.
But it's inside.
It is. It's there, but it's one of those things that there are different things we're comfortable talking about, and that is just something that I would never want to influence my job. And different people have different attractions to it. To me, that's something that I'm comfortable keeping private.
I love the feel of camaraderie here. And when you said the smile, the light, and all of us started grinning, and you could feel the warmth. And I think that is indeed what the faith is. It's the warmth that we have for humanity, for one another, for our families. When you get 5 women together like this, you never run out of things to talk about.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we actually are going to ask for some of your questions too. So stay with us, and Women of Excellence.
Very good.
Welcome back to Women of Excellence. We have truly been enjoying our time here, and I love the fact that we know how to laugh. Laughter is certainly a social grace and probably something that gets us through the events of the day very often. And I wondered if our Women of Excellence would be willing to share perhaps an embarrassing moment. Or maybe a time, we don't see everything. Sometimes things happen before you run and jump into that seat and the light goes on.
How much time do you have? We have to narrow it down to 1?
We are going to go to the audience. Okay. So can you quickly kind of summarize an embarrassing moment?
Well, I'll try and make this really brief because it really is a long story. But I remember once covering a wildlife photographer who would bring these wild animals on his farm and photograph them for National Geographic. And I went out there, I started the interview with the photographer, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about the bear. Now, this is an almost 7-foot, 500-pound bear." He said, "Don't worry about him. He licks chocolate milk duds off my hands. He won't bother you." I said, "But he's wild." He says, "Oh, nobody likes people."
And he's big.
So I start to do the interview, and all of a sudden I hear this growl, and something literally clamps down on my calf. And I don't even look down because I know it's the bear. And I think to myself, "Oh my God, bear, run." So I'm running, and I have on a dress, and I'm trying to run to the nearest tree, which when I get to it, I realize the lowest limb is like 15 feet high. I can't climb the tree. But the embarrassing part to that story was, first of all, the photographer never put down the camera to come help rescue me. He kept filming the whole time.
Gotta get the story.
He did pierce the skin, so I had to go to the doctor. And while I was being attended to, I got a call from the station saying, "Don't worry about it, don't come in. We know you're probably really emotional." I get home from the doctor. I turn on our station at 5:30. I see a tease that shows this tall black woman running in a dress, and then what comes into frame is this huge bear chasing after me, and you see me looking back like this going, and so they were like, the anchor is saying, now we want to caution you, Ramona had an incident, she's okay, she's home resting, but we'll have the story tomorrow. And I'm like, the nerve of you to do that. So that was...
But by the way, that's a great photographer who doesn't put you on the camera, because then you're like, they're chasing me. Imagine if you had gone through that and not had it alive. Early, I would say the most embarrassed I ever was, and probably because I wasn't used to being on camera. My first job on camera, I was the weekend anchor, assignment manager, producer, everything. So I would sit on set and produce. I had a little stopwatch, and I'd produce the show as we were going on, and I'd have my director in my earpiece, and went out live to a weather girl who was there, and she obviously didn't know she was on, and I'm like, get off her, get off her, get off her. And then I realized I'm yelling, and they come back to me at any time, so I went like that, sorry. And they came back, and I'm like this, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm like this on the air. I'm like just trying to and then you have to go on and be composed, because then it was just me the rest of the time. It's like, oh.
They've come a long way.
I don't have to produce with
I
a
remember
stopwatch.
my date was March 11th, 1993. I wasn't even a reporter at the time. I was in Washington, D.C., working for BET. I was a big Denzel Washington groupie. I love Denzel Washington, so I'm interviewing him for the National Association of Broadcasters Award. He was working on Malcolm X at the time. At that point, ladies, you know, the Limited had the colored jackets, and the black mini skirt was in with the opaque stockings. Okay, I didn't carry a purse because I wanted to be cute. I wanted him to check out my whole outfit. And so people were meeting me. My breath was a little tight. You always have to have the good friend in tow when your breath is not right. Get the breath mint, stuck it under my sweater. Business cards, people stuck it under my sweater. Interviewing Denzel Washington, everything's going fine, and he's looking fine, and I'm all cool and composed. But then I said, can I take a picture with you? He said, sure. Soon as I put my arm down, for some reason at that moment, all my breath mints, all my business cards fall out. Denzel is so nice, he kneels down, and he's picking them up, and I stand here and hyperventilate. Denzel's on my feet, 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 and I couldn't control myself. Lost all cool points. March 11th, 1993. I'm still in therapy. Still in therapy on that one. Still in therapy.
That's cute. We do the morning show, so nearly every day we have, right, Christy? A lot of embarrassing moments. Mine actually probably involves a bear, but not a big mama bear, a little bear. Kenny Crumpton brings on the critters with Jungle Terry and, the cutest little baby bear. So I was holding the cub and being mama bear to it, loving him up, and baby bears have to go potty sometimes. And it was a little bear, and so we were right on the air, and the guys, Kenny and Wayne, are like, oh my God, what's going on? Because it's now, red comfy couch is very, very wet. So it was fun. I remember walking in the newsroom, and Sonia, you looked at me and you said, you could probably go home now. We're good. I'll never forget that. I made a quick exit right after the show to go home and change. Because it didn't bother me, the smell, because it had been on me for so long, but I think when I walked in the newsroom, everyone's like, whew, you're good.
We have questions from the audience. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
Where is our first question? Go right ahead.
Hello. I'm enjoying today so much, and I just wanted to ask you, as a transplant to Cleveland from elsewhere, what compels each of you to stay in Cleveland when you are, I'm sure, have had many opportunities to leave and to go to higher places and more urban cities?
Thank you.
What makes you stay here? I love Cleveland now, but I know that
she's a transplant.
I'm not from here. I'm from Philadelphia. I moved here from Washington, D.C. My parents have been here. They moved here about 25, 26 years ago. And I can tell you, I came to Cleveland, started on the morning exchange at News Channel 5. And then I left in 1999, went back to Washington, D.C., worked for WJLA. I was so homesick for Cleveland, I didn't realize how much I fell in love with the people. It is the people. There is a feeling here of warmth and family, and people care about community. And when you go to a bigger city, you know, it's faster, people are a little colder, and I found myself really missing it. That's why I came back to Cleveland 8 months later, and I've been here ever since. Wound up meeting my husband, and there it is. I love Cleveland.
I have been in Cleveland since 1988, and when I came here, I didn't know anyone. And as a matter of fact, I was considering a job in Philadelphia at KYW. It was a weekend anchor job, and here in Cleveland, it was a weeknight. And I must tell you, 9 out of 10 people who I asked, what should I do? 9 of them said, oh, don't go to Cleveland.
Yeah.
And what I found out was, these people had never even been to Cleveland.
Right,
and
right.
so I decided to come to Cleveland basically because it was a weeknight job, and that's what I had strived for, becoming a weeknight anchor. And I literally have never wanted to leave. Mm-hmm. I hit the ground running in the community, and as Danita said, this community is wonderful, and it's so resilient. And when you see stories like the 3 missing women, no matter what happens in our community, Northeast Ohioans are the first to call, what can I do? How can I help? What do you need? And you just don't get that in a lot of other cities. And I hope Northeast Ohio, when I hear people say awful things who have lived here, who are raised and born here, when I hear them say such negative things about their own city, it really angers me, because overall, we have a wonderful community and a wonderful region here in Northern Ohio.
Yes, it
Kris,
is.
are you finding that out as well?
Absolutely. I've been here 2 years now, and I actually did the interview as a favor to my agent. I had gotten calls from Cleveland before in my career. I'm like, I'm not going to Cleveland. I didn't know anything about Cleveland. And I came out, and it was the station management. So often now, news goes towards the negative, and they sold me with the, we want to be a part of the community and do positive things for the community. So I came out here for that, for this particular station, because it's so rare to find that. And then Cleveland has been the best surprise of my life.
Yes.
And people are like, why are you in Cleveland? Why did you come to Cleveland? It's like, people who have never lived anywhere else don't realize what we have here. It is fantastic. I've never lived in a city with more going on and that is emerging so quickly and has every facet of a community you could possibly want, and the people here are wonderful.
Yeah.
Stefani.
Now, I'm a little different from all of you because I was born and raised here and grew up here, and this is home. All my friends are here, my family's here, so I think there's no greater city. And I did leave for a little while and couldn't wait to come back home. And to me, this is home. What a beautiful city that we have all the greatness of a big city, but yet we have the familiarity and the comforts and the joy and gifts as just having that small treasured city too.
You just
I
have
love
to
it.
get out and enjoy it.
That's right.
It's what you
That's
make
right.
of it,
That's
right?
right.
You could be unhappy anywhere you go.
Get out and enjoy it.
And we had talked earlier that a lot of people do get so caught up in life, and that you don't get out and explore what else. People go to work, they come home, they get very comfortable, but you need to spend time seeing what else is out in the community, because we do have so much.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to just get into patterns.
I love how you said it's a surprise. It's even it's a surprise to us locals too.
Yeah.
How lucky are we? Another question?
Yeah.
Right here. Right here.
Thank you so much for bringing so much love, faith, and humor to this room. My question is twofold. First of all, my name is Rita Singh. I am founder of Elite Women Around the World, SNA Consulting Group, and Miraz International Companies. What are the different needs and issues undermining women's advancement in leadership and performance in newsroom? Danita, you talked about the management, we see less of women, so what can we do about that? And my second question is, what kind of efforts are you making today so the younger women in the media have less of a struggle to move up?
I think what we can start doing as far as women going in management, let's start talking to our students. Let's tell a young girl that, I think a lot of times, especially when I have students shadow me, that they think of TV, you're either a reporter or an anchor. And they don't know all of the positions that are available, all the many facets of television that are available to you. And I think it starts early. I think we have to start training our young girls that you can be in a management position as well. If you want to do this, that's fine, but there are so many other things. We have to educate them young. We have to start them young. We have to make them aware. We have to give them opportunities. And the way we do that, I know we have a shadowing program at News Channel 5. I shadow a lot of high school students, a lot of college students, and I make them aware of all the positions that are available so that they don't get locked in, because a lot of times we're only locked into what we can see. But there are so many things that go on behind the scenes that enable us to do what we do in front of the camera, and I think we need to start educating young girls about all the possibilities that are there for them.
And I think we need to go out in the community and reach these young people.
Yeah.
I'll give you a prime example. I spend once a week, I'm out in the community with my Ramona's kids. A lot of them young women. And 1 week recently, I was at Hathaway Brown, very prestigious school. The next week, I was at Invictus School, an alternative school for kids who dropped out of school, whether it be for pregnancy or they got involved in drugs or whatever. But this school allows them to come back and get their GED. And so when I look at Invictus versus Hathaway Brown and the conversation these young women are having with me, the ones at Hathaway Brown, I say, what do you aspire to do? They already know. I want to go to college. I'm going to be a chemical engineer. I'm going to be a doctor. I want to be in political science. When I talk to the kids at Invictus, what do you want to do? Sometimes there's a silence that comes over the conversation, because maybe they don't have the tools. They don't have the mother and father who have already groomed them by example of this is what you can be. And I think that's where a voice like mine comes in, to tell them, yes, you can do this. If you aspire to go to college, if you want to be the next president, or you want to be Secretary of State, yes, you can. And this is how you can get there. And it starts by getting that education. So I think for women like us in that role,
and I'm going to say women
voice,
of color, and even women of color, we have to talk to our young black girls who have such high statistics in all the negative things. We have to be the examples to show, no, this doesn't have to be your story. We are the examples. We are the testaments. Hard work, education, have a vision, dream, and dream big. Our kids don't even dream anymore. They just don't dream. And I say, it's not that you're not a failure if you fail at your dream. You're a failure if you don't take the time to dream. And we have to tell our young ladies, even young boys, continue to dream, dream big, and then go for it. Work for it.
Somebody gave me, I wish I had the little card with me now, but I remember the ending of it was about failing. So you fail, you try again, maybe you'll fail better next time.
Exactly.
And move on.
And with every generation, more doors are open. When we're out talking to young women, most of the time it's not, this is how you're going to succeed in journalism. It's like, you're a woman. It shouldn't matter. There should not be, you never define yourself by, I'm a woman, can I do this? You're an individual. And that is, in news now, a lot of doors have opened up. And I think as we have these upcoming generations who really are not as defined as male, female, doors are open for everyone.
I want to get another question in. Yes.
Hi, I'm Ashley Bastock. I'm a junior at John Carroll studying journalism. And first of all, I just want to say the four of you are such great role models for me personally, and I'm sure the other students in the room. But as I'm getting ready to start my career, I was wondering if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at the age of 22, what one piece of advice would you give yourself for your future?
Stephanie, let's start with you.
Well, I know my mom was always such a big role model for me, and I think she really helped me decide what I wanted to do, and kind of, there were a few different things, different avenues that I'm sure we all wanted to take. And so just do a lot of soul searching and even interning. Terry Moyer is here. How many times did I intern with you? I was always coming back going, Terry, can I intern? Because I wanted to make sure it's exactly what I wanted to do. And then I wanted to be in the newsroom a little bit more. So I was with Morning Exchange with you. I mean, really, and you learn so much. And actually watching Terry Moyer, who was not on camera, but to watch her put the show together and to watch her as a leader was extraordinary. So I think getting the most exposure to whatever it is you want to do, if you feel like there's a few different things, explore them and see, because many times then you're attached to that job for perhaps the rest of your life. but do a lot of soul searching and try and take advantage of the opportunities, the shadowing program. But I always say too, stay positive, and it's what you make of it.
Yeah, and I would say social media and learning to write.
Yes.
So many times young people in college, the question, they tell me that they've been told they can do television because they're pretty. Well, maybe that was true years and years and years ago, but it takes more than looks to make it in this business. It's really tough. So learn as much as you can while you're in college. And as Sissy said, you know, try an intern. I didn't have a car when I was in college, so I didn't benefit from an internship. But I always tried to be as versatile as I could be. I mean, when I started out, I was considered a one-man band. I was my own photographer, writer, editor, reporter, anchor. I did it all. There were nights I filled in for weather. I didn't know what I was doing, but I filled in.
But ironically, that's what your reporters are doing now.
Yeah, they are. It's gone full circle.
I mean, it has come full circle. So you do need to have all those skills.
And we do it at Channel 5. I know how to shoot. I know how to edit. You know, you have to learn all of it. It's a one-man band all around.
That's another way.
I wish, and I have a feeling, since no one is moving in his seat here, his or her seat, I wish that we had another hour, and we don't. And before we go, I do want to throw to Harlan Diamond, Mr. Executive Caterers, because I know, Harlan, you have been watching and listening, and so happy to see 5 beautiful women up here on this stage.
I mean, first of all, Harlan, can we sing you happy birthday?
Oh,
we just had a birthday.
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harlan. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Wow. You know, I've got a few things to say, but ladies and gentlemen, mostly ladies, this is Northeastern Ohio. Northeastern Ohio Television has been able to bring the most beautiful and brightest women in this country to our area. Northeastern Ohio is highly rated TV medium, and these are part of the reasons why. Now, I can tell a story about almost every one, but I'm not going to. But I'm going to tell a story about Jan, because I got to get even. You don't know it, but Jan Jones introduced this building to Northeastern Ohio. And it was a very interesting program. I don't know if Jan had retired, but she was in her advanced stages of being in the medium. And there was another gentleman, I don't know if he was retired, but he was in the interesting area of his career. And we did a news flash, and we announced to the community the building and the opening of Landerhaven. And they were bouncing it around. And I think that that was the first non-commercial, commercial building to ever have the TV, that coverage that we had. And I want to thank you. I got to tell you, Brian left, Brian Tucker, but Brian and Cranes and Jan and Mike and everybody, Charles, in this organization, we had the opportunity to create Corporate Club. Christine has been in there with us for more years than she wants me to tell you, but it's upwards of 25. But anyways, I want to thank you for allowing us to be part of this community and helping us to share in this community. And you guys are wonderful and beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Harlan. And thank you, our women of excellence.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to share this afternoon with you.
It's been a delight.
We applaud you.
It's been fun.
They knew I was nervous.
You are awesome.
Yes.
It's easier to be on the other side. Cleveland, Ohio is a grand old city. We cherish our history, and we are looking toward a vibrant future. And these women are prime examples of why we are succeeding. So thank you so much. Thank all of you for joining in the excitement. I'm Jan Jones. We'll see you at Corporate Club next time.